j.p.morgan CEO Jamie Dimon just predicted economic collapse of all sectors. As you guys know, Wall Street bankers have become frightened by the Fed's quantitative tightening, and they 100% know that a recession is coming. Jamie Dimon just did an interview about this doomed economy, and everything he says, I will back it with 100% data. Also, this footage is coming from Stoic Finance, so his channel will be in the description.
And you got to put this in back of your mind when you've seen things that have never happened before, then you have to question your ability to predict. Okay, one is huge growth in this country, driven by fiscal and monetary stimulation. That isn't a normal recovery.
Now, Jamie Dimon is right. This economy has lately been driven by monetary and physical stimulus. That's why inflation is at its highest rate since 1981, which was during the Paul Volcker era, where the Fed had to raise interest rates up to 19%. This caused the economy to go into a much-needed recession. Unemployment reached 11%, which translates to 10.7 million Americans without a job. And also, food prices was up 13.5%. Paul Volcker got a lot of flack for this, but the recession was much needed at the time. And to be honest, the same rules apply even today.
Okay, and that fiscal stimulation is still in the pocketbooks of consumers. They're spending it. They're spending at very strong levels. And the data is completely distorted. It's distorted by inflation. It's distorted by, they went from goods back to services. It's distorted by all these things. But jobs are plentiful. Wages are going up. Consumers are spending. The lower income folks, not quite as much as before, but everybody else, it looks like they have $2 trillion more. Savings rate drop. I don't think that's going to stop their spending in 6 or 9 months.
He just mentioned the savings rate. Oh boy, do I got some data to show you guys. The pandemic hits, nobody is working, businesses shut down, the country is freaking out, the stock market becomes bearish, the government has no other choice but to stimulate the economy. So on March 27, 2020, the government signed the CARES Act, which was
the single biggest economic relief package in American history.
So the government gets to printing money. And I mean a lot of money. This equated to $5 trillion entering the economy. So much so that the savings rate jumped to 34%. Everybody's happy. Stocks are doing great because of the low interest rates and stimulus. People can pay their bills, but a new foreseen problem arises. Inflation reached 40-year high, 8.6%. Here comes gas prices reaching as high as $7 per gallon in California.
So that to me is the bright clouds out there. But it's different. The Fed has to meet this now with raising rates and QT. And the new part of this isn't the raising rates, it's the QT. The QT we've never had QE before like this. Therefore, we've never had QT like this. So you're looking at something they're going to be writing history books on for 50 years. What was QE? What worked? What didn't work? I think a lot of parts of QE backfired. I think the negative rates was probably a huge mistake for a whole bunch of different reasons I won't bore you with now. But they got to raise rates, and in my view, they have to do QT. They do not have a choice because there's so much liquidity in the system. They have to remove some of the liquidity to stop the speculation, to reduce home prices, stuff like that.
Now, he mentioned home prices. Arguably, this sector has been the most impacted. America was already having a shortage of homes even before the pandemic. In 2019, the U.S. was short 3.84 million homes. We can amount this to the labor shortages. The pandemic just highlighted this to the extreme. Once you add on the supply chain disruptions, this intense demand for homes caused houses to be bidded up, sometimes even over 100K over asking price. And peaceful people also try to get the advantage of over people by waiving contingencies. The Wall Street investors and ultra wealthy saw the housing market as a place for a safer investment because it tends to be less volatile than stocks.
And you've never been through QT. So all the major buyers, if you go back to 2010 and say, who are all the major buyers of treasuries? All that time, it was central banks, foreign exchange managers, banks who were topping up their liquidity profiles because we had to for regulations. All three, it won't happen the go round. Banks are topped up, foreign exchange managers are topped up, the central bank will be selling, not buying, and governments have much more fiscal deficit to finance. That's a huge change in the flow of funds around the world. I don't know what the effect of that is. I'm prepared for, I tell you, a minimum huge volatility. And the third thing is Ukraine. That you've not had a European land war since 1945. Okay, and the complexity of Ukraine is we don't know the outcome. I always make a list, if you predict the outcome. Well, you couldn't predict the outcome of Vietnam. Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, 10 other conflagrations. All wrong.
He also mentioned the war in Europe with Ukraine and Russia and their impact on commodity prices. In Q1 of 2022, the global price index of all commodities hit its record high. Now also, he said oil prices, which is on pace to approaching the 2008 oil price levels. There's a chance that it could reach $150 to $175 per barrel. Now, when that happened, all the countries that can no longer afford that much oil, they're going to have to resort to coal.
Wars go bad. They go south. They have unintended consequences. And this happens to be rolling the commodity markets of the world. Wheat, oil, gas, and stuff like that, which in my view will continue. We're not taking the proper actions to protect Europe from what's going to happen in oil in the short run. And we're not taking the proper actions to protect you all what's going to happen to oil in the next 5 years, which means it almost has to go up the price. We're not investing enough money to keep oil a number. And for all those who love climate change, if oil prices go to 175 or 150, which I kind of think is in the cards, to tell you the truth, not in the immediate run, but down the road, then CO2 won't go up, down, which is everyone predicts because people buy less oil and gas. It's going to go up because all those other countries out there, the poor countries who need oil and gas to feed and heat their citizens, will not buy oil and gas. They'll buy coal. That's what's going to happen. CO2 will go up. It won't come down. And we're not dealing with these challenges. So those three things, fiscally induced growth, QT, Ukraine.
Now here's the clip of what he said that went viral.
Look, I'm an optimist. I said there's storm clouds. They're big storm clouds. It's a hurricane. Right now it's kind of sunny. Things are doing fine. Everyone thinks the Fed can handle this. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way. We just don't know if it's a minor one or Superstorm Sandy Sandy or Andrew or something like that. And you better brace yourself. So j.p.morgan is bracing ourselves, and we're going to be very conservative in our balance sheet on with all this capital uncertainty. We're going to have to take actions, and I kind of want to shed non-operating deposits again, which we can do in size. To protect ourselves so we could serve clients in bad times. And so that's the environment we're dealing with. And, I think it's okay to hope that'll end up okay. I hope it. That's my Goldilocks. I hope. Who the hell knows?
Now, I reported something like this in my most popular video. It's right here if you guys want to check it out. And I said the banks have gave up on the housing market. Now, it kind of was a hyperbole, but we're starting to see stuff coming to fruition. Like I said, Wells Fargo Bank is laying off its employees. Rocket Mortgage is laying off its employees. And Wells Fargo, for example, refused to say how many. And these businesses is preparing for the unfortunate to happen. It's written in plain sight. Well, this is going to be the end of the video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We're on our road to 3,000 subscribers.